We have prepared for you 100 real estate questions that will help you study and prepare for your real estate exam. Please like this video as it helps our channel. Now let's get started.
Question 1. An insurance policy which combines personal liability insurance and hazard insurance coverage for a dwelling and its contents is called A. Homeowner's insurance, B. Buyer's insurance, C. Errors and omissions insurance, D. All of the above. The correct answer is A. Homeowner's insurance. Homeowner insurance is the right term as it combines personal liability and hazard coverage for the dwelling and its contents, ensuring comprehensive protection for homeowners. Question 2. What is the status of a contract when all the terms have been fulfilled and the transaction has been closed? A. Fully executed. B. Terminated. C. Voidable. D. Unenforceable. The correct answer is A. Fully executed. When all the terms of a contract have been fulfilled and the transaction has been closed, the contract is considered to be fully executed. This means that both parties have performed their obligations under the contract and there are no further actions required. At this point, the contract has been completely executed and both parties are typically released from any further obligations under the agreement. Question 3. A buyer submits a full-price offer on a property listed in the MLS. The seller rejects the offer without making a counteroffer. Which of the following is true? A. The seller must still pay commission to the listing agent because the buyer met the listing price. B. The seller has no obligation to accept any offer, even if it's at full price. C. The buyer can sue for specific performance since they met the asking price. D. The listing agreement automatically terminates if a full-price offer is rejected. The correct answer is B. The seller has no obligation to accept any offer, even if it's at full price. The listing price is an invitation to make an offer, not a binding contract. Even if a buyer offers the full price with the listed terms, the seller is not legally obligated to accept it. Sellers have the right to reject any offer for any reason, unless discrimination or contractual obligations are involved. The listing agreement may define how commissions are earned, but that doesn't override the seller's autonomy in accepting offers. Question 4. Agent Greg lists a home and knows the property has a cracked foundation but chooses not to disclose it. The seller also knows and chooses not to disclose it. After closing, the buyer sues. Who is likely liable? A. Only the seller, since they own the property. B. The buyer, for failing to inspect the foundation. C. The seller and the listing agent Greg, for failure to disclose a material fact. D. No one, because the sale is final. The correct answer is C. The seller and the listing agent Greg, for failure to disclose a material fact. Agents have a duty to disclose all known material defects, even if the seller doesn't mention them. A cracked foundation is a serious material issue affecting property value and safety. If the agent knew and failed to disclose it, they could be held liable along with the seller for misrepresentation or fraud, even after closing. Question 5. Linda purchased a fee, simple interest for the private use of a residential property for 1 week every single year. What did Linda purchase? A. Shares in a cooperative building. B. A condominium. C. Common elements. D. Resort. Timeshare. The correct answer is D. Resort timeshare. Vacation. Timeshare. Resorts sell a fee simple form of ownership to a buyer for the private and exclusive use of a unit for 1 week a year. There is title work, a closing, and the buyer is conveyed a deed. Question 6. Agent Alex is showing homes to a buyer. He tells his buyer that a home is the best investment in the neighborhood even though it has a history of flooding. What is this an example of? A. Puffing. B. Negligence. C. Fraudulent misrepresentation. D. Honest opinion. The correct answer is C. Fraudulent misrepresentation. While puffing refers to exaggerated subjective statements like great view, calling a property the best investment while knowing of major issues like flooding crosses into misrepresentation. If the agent knows of a material issue and makes deceptive statements that induce reliance, this becomes fraudulent misrepresentation. Question 7. What type of ownership would allow two or more owners to have various unequal percentages of ownership? A. Joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. B. Joint tenancy. C. Tenancy in common. D. Tenancy in severalty. The correct answer is C. Tenancy in common. Tenancy in common grants owners to have an equal, undivided interest in a property, but also allows for owners to have varying percentages of unequal ownership as well. Question 8. Tenancy in severalty is best described as A. Two property owners. B. One property owner. C. More than two property owners. D. Property owned by a corporation. The correct answer is B. One property owner, severing all other owners. When one single person is the sole owner of a property, it is known as tenancy in severalty. Question 9. Which of the following is not one of the four land use controls? A. Police power. B. Intestate. C. Escheat. D. Eminent domain. The correct answer is B. Intestate. The four public land use controls in real estate are police power, escheat, eminent domain, and taxation. Question 10. A seller tells their listing agent Susan that they want to accept an offer, but first they need 24 hours to think it over. During that time, Susan receives a better offer. What should Susan do? A. Hold the better offer until the seller first decides what they want to do with the current offer. B. Accept the better offer on the seller's behalf. C. Present the new offer to the seller immediately. D. Let the current offer know the exact price and terms of the better offer. The correct answer is C. Present the new offer to the seller immediately. Agents must present all offers to their clients promptly, regardless of timing or prior interest. Even if the seller is considering another offer, they are entitled to know about new ones. The agent cannot make decisions on the seller's behalf and must stay neutral unless directed otherwise. Question 11. A tenant signs a lease that states the landlord is not responsible for any injuries occurring on the property. The tenant is injured due to the landlord's failure to fix a known hazard. Can the landlord be held liable? A. No, because the lease waives all liability. B. Only if the injury was very serious. C. Yes, because landlords can't waive responsibility for negligence. D. Only if the tenant had renter's insurance. The correct answer is C. Yes, because landlords can't waive responsibility for negligence. Even if a lease states that the landlord is not responsible for injuries, they cannot legally waive liability for negligence. If a landlord fails to fix a known hazard, and that negligence leads to a tenant's injury, they can still be held liable. Courts generally uphold a landlord's duty to maintain a safe living environment, and tenants have the right to seek compensation for injuries caused by the landlord's failure to address dangerous conditions. Question 12. Listing agent Judy is hosting an open house. During the open house, a buyer asks, "Why are they selling?" Judy, being quick to judge, replies, "They're getting a divorce and the husband moved out already, so they need to sell quick." If Judy didn't have permission to disclose personal information, what is this considered? A. Acceptable since it's a common reason. B. A violation of fiduciary duty of loyalty and confidentiality. C. Required disclosure under license law. D. Part of full transparency. The correct answer is B. A violation of fiduciary duty of loyalty and confidentiality. A real estate agent has a fiduciary duty to act in the best interests of their client, which includes maintaining confidentiality, disclosing personal information, such as information pertaining to a seller's divorce, without permission can harm the seller's negotiating position and violate their right to privacy. Agents must always obtain consent before sharing sensitive details. Question 13. A seller accepts an offer. 2 days later, a much better offer comes in. The seller wants to accept the new offer instead. What are their options? A. Accept both and decide later. B. Accept the second offer as a backup. C. Withdraw from the first contract immediately. D. Sue the second buyer for interference. The correct answer is B. Accept the second offer as a backup. Once a seller accepts an offer and enters into a binding contract, they are legally obligated to that agreement unless it is canceled or terminated under its terms. However, they may accept a backup offer, which becomes active only if the first contract falls through. Question 14. A buyer signs a purchase agreement and later learns the home is in a flood zone. The seller disclosed this in writing, but the buyer says they missed it. What are the buyer's rights? A. The contract is void automatically. B. The buyer is bound to the contract unless a relevant contingency still applies. C. The buyer can cancel without penalty, even if all contingencies are removed. D. The seller is liable for not making sure the buyer thoroughly reviewed the disclosure. The correct answer is B. The buyer is bound to the contract unless a relevant contingency still applies. If the seller disclosed the flood zone and the buyer failed to review the disclosure, the buyer is still bound by the contract unless there's a relevant contingency, such as inspection or review of disclosures, that allows them to cancel. It's the buyer's responsibility to review documents carefully. Question 15. Paul owns an older residential property in an area now zoned for commercial use. Paul decides to renovate the home into a laundromat. The change in the property's functionality for Paul's financial gain is an example of what? A. Highest and best use. B. Substitution. C. Assemblage. D. Conformity. The correct answer is A. Highest and best use. The transition of the residential property to an income-producing business is an example of the property being put to its highest and best use. And now for a bonus question. If you appreciate this material, what is the best way you can help support this channel? A. Simply hit the like button. B. Leave a comment letting us know your exam date. C. Purchase our exclusive exam prep by clicking the link in the description. D. All of the above. The correct answer is A. Simply hit the like button. The best way to support the channel is by simply hitting the like button. Although all of the above would greatly help our channel, we wanted to take a moment to let you know we appreciate you watching this video very much. And we sincerely hope you pass your upcoming exam and have a very successful career in real estate. Question 16. Listing agent Sally receives a full-price cash offer on a property. The offer expires in 24 hours, but Sally knows she cannot reach the seller for 48 hours. What is the agent's obligation? A. Discard the offer after 24 hours. B. Retain the offer and present it as soon as possible. C. Accept the offer on behalf of the seller. D. Automatically counter the offer to keep it active. The correct answer is B. Retain the offer and present it as soon as possible. Agents have a duty to promptly present all offers to their clients. If the seller is unavailable, the agent must retain the offer and present it at the first opportunity. Agents cannot accept or counter offers without express client authority. Question 17. Buyer. Sam purchased a rundown residential home in a neighborhood with many nice, well-kept properties. Sam intends to renovate the home and resell it for a profit. Considering the nicer homes in the neighborhood help raise his property value, what appraisal principle is Sam leveraging? A. Regression. B. Progression. C. Assemblage. D. Substitution. The correct answer is B. Progression. Progression is the appraisal principle that a dilapidated property will gain value when the surrounding properties are well kept. Nicer homes surrounding a property that is run down will only raise the subject property's value. Question 18. During the appraisal process, the appraiser will never adjust the price of the A. Appraisal. B. Comps. C. Subject property. D. Land. The correct answer is C. Subject property. During the appraisal process, the appraiser always adjusts the value of the comparables accordingly, but never the value of the subject property. Question 19. While working on an appraisal report, appraiser Jake finds that the comparable property is superior to the subject property with more amenities. How will Jake make adjustments to arrive at a value of the subject property? A. Subtract value from comparable. B. Add value to subject. C. Subtract value from subject. D. Add value to comparable. The correct answer is A. Subtract value from comparable. When an appraiser finds that a comparable property is of better quality or has more features than the subject, they will subtract value from the comparable. The idea is that the price a comparable home sold for, with more features, needs to be adjusted down to find the probable price the subject property will sell for without those features. Question 20. Agent Homer is representing a buyer and discovers a new major power plant is being built near the home his client is buying. What must Homer do? A. Say nothing, it's not on the property. B. Inform the buyer immediately. C. Ask the seller to disclose it. D. Wait for the buyer to discover it during inspection. The correct answer is B. Inform the buyer immediately. Even off-site factors like a planned power plant can affect property value and desirability. If the agent knows about it, it's considered a material fact and must be disclosed to the buyer regardless of location or inspection. Question 21. Which of the following is an example of commingling? A. Withholding material facts from a buyer. B. Depositing earnest money into the broker's personal account. C. Refusing to present multiple offers. D. Charging excessive commissions. The correct answer is B. Depositing earnest money into the broker's personal account. Commingling occurs when a broker or licensee mixes client funds with personal or business funds. It is a serious violation of trust account regulations and can lead to fines, suspension, or license revocation. Question 22. Which one of the following loan types does not require a down payment? A. VA loan. B. Conventional loan. C. Bridge loan. D. FHA loan. The correct answer is A. VA loan. Loans backed by the Department of Veterans Affairs are offered to qualifying veterans and do not require the veterans to pay a down payment. Question 23. Discount points are a way lenders are able to charge prepaid interest in order to lower the interest rate over the life of the loan. What is the cost of the discount points based on? A. The down payment required. B. The appraised property value. C. The loan amount. D. The sales price. The correct answer is C. The loan amount. Discount points charged on all loan types are figured as a percentage of the loan amount. 1 discount point is equal to 1% of the loan amount. Question 24. FHA loans require that borrowers provide protection to the lender in case of loan default. What must the borrower pay for to provide this protection to the lender? A. Credit life insurance. B. Homeowners insurance. C. Mortgage insurance premium. D. Title insurance. The correct answer is C. Mortgage insurance premium. There are 2 types of FHA mortgage insurance premiums, MIP, that borrowers are required to pay. Upfront mortgage insurance premium, UFMIP. This is a one-time fee paid at the time of closing or can be added to the loan amount. Annual mortgage insurance premium, MIP. This is an ongoing monthly premium that borrowers are required to pay as part of their mortgage payment. The MIP amount depends on the loan term, loan-to-value ratio, and the initial loan amount. The MIP is typically paid for the life of the loan. Question 25. Fair housing regulations apply not only to real estate agents, but also lenders. When a lender denies a mortgage application solely based on the racial demographics of the neighborhood the property is located in, the lender is guilty of A. Steering. B. Redlining. C. Mortgage fraud. D. Panic selling. The correct answer is B. Redlining. Redlining is the term used when lenders deny loans based on the racial demographics of the neighborhood. Lenders are to base credit decisions on the borrower's creditworthiness. Redlining is a violation of the Fair Housing Act. Question 26. Terry received a conventional 30-year loan to purchase his home. Thanks to some large extra payments, Terry will have his home paid for in only 17 years. Which of the following loan terms could charge Terry an extra fee for paying off the home so soon? A. Interest fee. B. Escalation clause. C. Subordination clause. D. Prepayment penalty. The correct answer is D. Prepayment penalty. Some conventional loans include a prepayment penalty clause, which allows a lender to charge the borrower additional fees if the loan is paid off early. Prepayment penalties are not allowed on government loans, such as FHA and VA. Question 27. A tenant calls their property manager about a broken heater. The manager ignores it for weeks during winter. What could happen? A. The tenant can buy a new heater on the landlord's account. B. The tenant can report the issue and possibly terminate the lease. C. The tenant must wait patiently until it's repaired. D. The manager has no obligation to act quickly. The correct answer is B. The tenant can report the issue and possibly terminate the lease. Failure to provide essential services like heat may constitute a constructive eviction, allowing the tenant to report the issue, withhold rent in some jurisdictions, or even terminate the lease. Landlords and property managers are obligated to maintain habitable conditions. Question 28. Some loans are structured where the lender places a portion of each payment the borrower makes into a special account to pay the property taxes at the end of each year. What is the account called? A. Escrow account. B. Mortgage account. C. Interest account. D. Savings account. The correct answer is A. Escrow account. In order to ensure that there are no tax liens placed on the collateral property, the lender places a portion of each payment the borrower makes into an escrow account. Question 29. Which of the following loan types would have the highest down payment? A. Rural development loan. B. Conventional loan. C. VA loan. D. FHA loan. The correct answer is B. Conventional loan. Conventional loans require the borrower to pay a higher down payment than government loans. Rural development and VA loans require no down payment. FHA loans many times only require 3 to 5% down, while conventional loans can be 10 to 20% or more depending on circumstances. Question 30. Mortgages that are escrowed break down the monthly payment 4 ways. Each payment pays a portion towards PITI, which stands for A. Principal, investment, taxes, insurance. B. Payment, interest, taxes, investment. C. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance. D. Prepayment, insurance, taxes, investment. The correct answer is C. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance. PITI stands for Principal, Interest, Taxes, Insurance. In an escrowed mortgage, each monthly payment is broken down and a portion of each payment is paid to these 4 areas. This practice protects the lender's collateral from tax lines or uninsured losses. Question 31. Agent Anna has a home listed for sale and shows the home to the Quinns, whom she does not have a buyer's agency agreement with. The Quinns are A. Clients, B. Fiduciaries, C. Principals, D. Customers. The correct answer is D. Customers. Customers agents work with, not for. Customers are the third parties an agent may deal with in the course of a transaction while representing a principal. Question 32. What duty requires a licensee to follow the principal's orders and requests as long as they are not unethical or illegal? A. Obedience. B. Accountability. C. Disclosure. D. Honesty. The correct answer is A. Obedience. The duty of obedience requires the agent to obey the wishes of the principal as long as they are not unethical or illegal. Question 33. Melissa went on a listing appointment, and the sellers were asking legal questions. Questions she felt certain she knew the answers to. What should Melissa do? A. Suggest they seek legal counsel. B. Answer the questions. C. Tell them she will find out and get back to them. D. Tell them she doesn't know for sure. The correct answer is A. Suggest they seek legal counsel. An agent can never give legal advice without a license to do so, nor deter customers or clients from seeking legal counsel. Question 34. Agent Terry convinces an owner to list his property way under market value. Terry sells the property to his brother Mark without disclosing the relationship to the buyer in writing. Mark turns around and sells the property for a profit to split with Terry. This is an example of A. Wholesaling, B. Creative agency, C. Stealing, D. Self-dealing. The correct answer is D. Self-dealing. Self-dealing is an intentional misrepresentation of an agent's relationship and interest in a transaction. Question 35. Agent Paula found a buyer for her listing. The seller accepted the buyer's offer, and both parties received copies of the contract documents. The seller decides 1 week prior to closing they no longer want to sell the home. What could happen? A. Paula's broker owes her a commission. B. The buyer owes Paula commission. C. Paula did not earn a commission. D. The seller owes Paula commission. The correct answer is D. The seller owes Paula commission. When an agent brings a ready, willing, and able buyer, and a seller accepts the buyer's offer, the agent has essentially earned their commission. The seller is to pay the agent if the contract is terminated due to the seller's default.
Question 36. Larry listed his home for sale with an agent. The property was exposed to an open and free market, and after a reasonable time, the property sold to a buyer unrelated to Larry. This type of sale would be considered A. Fair market value, B. Sale under duress, C. Arm's length transaction, D. None of the above. The correct answer is C. Arm's length transaction. A property exposed to an open and free market and sold after a reasonable period of time to unrelated parties which both acted in their own self-interest is considered an arm's length transaction. Question 37. How is real estate defined? A. Land and all items within the improvements. B. Land including water, air, and improvements. C. Property sold between buyers and sellers. D. Commercial property, but not residential. The correct answer is B. Land including water, air, and improvements. Real estate is defined as land, water, air, and improvements attached to the land. Question 38. A fence that extends onto the land of another from a neighboring property is called an A. Encumbrance, B. Easement, C. Encroachment, D. Escheat. The correct answer is C. Encroachment. Encroachment occurs when an improvement or fixture intrudes upon an adjoining property. Question 39. Marvin owns an easement to use the driveway of his neighbor Bob. Marvin's property is considered the A. Servient estate, B. Life estate, C. Dominant estate, D. Freehold estate. The correct answer is C. Dominant estate. The property that benefits from an easement to another parcel is called the dominant estate.
Question 40. Which of the following must be disclosed to prospective buyers under federal law? A. Previous occupant died from natural causes on the home 20 years ago. B. Presence of lead-based paint in homes built before 1978. C. Nearby foreclosures in the past 12 months. D. Whether the home was previously listed at a higher price. The correct answer is B. Presence of lead-based paint in homes built before 1978. Under federal law, sellers and landlords must disclose any known presence of lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazards in homes built before 1978. This requirement is part of the Residential Lead-Based Paint Hazard Reduction Act of 1992, which aims to protect buyers and renters from potential health risks associated with lead exposure. Question 41. A property manager receives multiple applications. The owner tells them to reject all applicants with children. What should the manager do? A. Comply since the owner has final authority. B. Refuse and explain that this violates fair housing laws. C. Follow the owner's wishes quietly. D. Approve only the applicants without children. The correct answer is B. Refuse and explain that this violates fair housing laws. Familial status is a protected class under the Fair Housing Act.
Refusing to rent to applicants because they have children is illegal discrimination. The property manager must follow the law, even if it conflicts with the owner's preferences. Question 42. What is the accumulation of land caused by the natural flow of water called? A. Erosion. B. Accretion. C. Avulsion. D. Alluvion. The correct answer is B. Accretion. Accretion is the accumulation of soil that collects over time due to the natural water flow. Question 43. Donnie leaves his home to his third wife, Trish, with the clause that after her passing, the home goes to his first son, Logan. What type of interest does Logan have in the property? A. Life tenant estate. B. Life estate. C. Remainder man. D. Leasehold. The correct answer is C. Remainder man. A remainder man is a third-party interest in a property that will revert to them at the time a life tenant passes away. Question 44. New agent Matt is listing a home for sale, which was built in 1965. What disclosure should Matt have the seller complete due to the age of the home? A. Lead-based paint. Disclosure. B. Mold disclosure. C. Radon. Disclosure. D. Asbestos. Disclosure. The correct answer is A. Lead-based paint. Disclosure. Properties constructed prior to 1978 fall under the federal requirement to provide buyers with a lead-based paint disclosure. Question 45. Part of Agent Connie's listing packet includes a form for the seller to complete that covers the components of the home for sale and the seller's knowledge of the condition of such items. This form is referred to as A. Home inspection report. B. Seller's condition report. C. Listing amendment. D. Seller's disclosure. The correct answer is D. Seller's disclosure. The seller's disclosure form lets the seller convey knowledge they have regarding their property to a potential buyer. This is where a seller can list any updates made or repairs needed to the best of their knowledge. Question 46. Mary and Mark are buying their first home, which was built just 3 years ago. After touring the property, which seems to be in good repair, they waive their right to a home inspection, not anticipating any issues. After closing and moving in, they find that some of the ductwork in the crawl space has fallen and is no longer attached, causing all the air to be released under the home. They are upset that the seller did not mention the issue, and when asked, the seller states they had no idea that had happened. Is the seller at fault for not disclosing this issue to the buyers? A. Yes, the seller should disclose all issues. B. No, the seller had no knowledge of the issue. C. Yes, the seller must provide a home inspection report. D. Yes, the seller should pay for the repairs. The correct answer is B. No, the seller had no knowledge of the issue. A seller's disclosure is not a warranty or guarantee that the home is free of issues. The seller can only disclose what they are aware of. The buyer has the responsibility of doing their due diligence in order to discover any unknown issues outside of those disclosed. Question 47. A buyer waives the home inspection. After closing, they discover severe termite damage that the seller knew about but failed to disclose. Can the buyer take legal action? A. No, waiving inspection means they accepted the condition. B. Yes, if the seller failed to disclose known defects. C. No, unless the agent agrees to pay. D. Only if the lender agrees. The correct answer is B. Yes, if the seller failed to disclose known defects. Even if the buyer waives an inspection, the seller is still obligated to disclose known material defects like termite damage. If the seller knew and did not disclose, they can be held liable for fraud or misrepresentation. Question 48. Johnny's home is under contract, and the prospective buyers had a home inspection. The inspection noted some roof issues, which Johnny was not previously aware of. The buyers provided Johnny with a copy of the inspection and an inspection notice terminating the sales contract. What should Johnny do going forward? A. Drop the price drastically. B. Update the seller's disclosure to include the roof issues. C. Make any future buyers aware of the roof issues if they ask. D. He must repair the roof prior to sale. The correct answer is B. Update the seller's disclosure to include the roof issues. A seller must disclose any issues with the property or repairs needed which they are aware of. Once the home inspection revealed a roof repair is needed, the seller's disclosure should be updated to reflect the newfound knowledge prior to new prospective buyers receiving the disclosure. Question 49. Disclosure law specifics vary by state, however. In which type of transaction would the seller's property disclosure generally not be required? A. Residential arm's length transaction. B. Triplex purchase. C. Residential foreclosure. D. Mobile home purchase. The correct answer is C. Residential foreclosure. A foreclosure sale is exempt from the seller's disclosure requirements due to the seller being the lender with little to no knowledge of the property's specifics.
And now for a bonus question. It's exam day and you are taking your exam. You come across a question and you have no idea what the answer is. What should you do? A. Don't back down. Show that question who is boss. Spend an hour on that question if you need to. B. Just make a random guess and move on. C. Skip it and answer the questions you know the answers to first. Then come back to it and try to eliminate any of the answers to that question that are clearly wrong before choosing your answer. D. If this made you laugh, please leave a comment in the comment section or subscribe as it greatly helps the channel. The correct answer is C. Skip it and answer the questions you know the answers to first. Then come back to it and try to eliminate any of the answers to that question that are clearly wrong before choosing your answer. Chances are you will come across questions you do not know the answer to, and that's okay. If this is the case, a good strategy is to skip them and answer the questions you know the answers to first. Then come back to those questions later and try to eliminate answers that are clearly wrong before choosing your answer. You are preparing well by watching this video, and we know you will do great on your exam.
Question 50. A listing agreement in writing creates which form of agency? A. Negligent agency. B. Implied agency. C. Express agency. D. Ostensible agency. The correct answer is C. Express agency. A written listing agreement creates an expressed agency. The agency relationship is expressed in writing.
Question 51. In compliance with fair housing regulations, any deed restriction or covenant that would prohibit the conveyance of the property to a member of a protected class is A. Legal. B. Is not legal, considered void, and unenforceable. C. Will stand in court. D. Valid. The correct answer is B. Is not legal, considered void, and unenforceable. In compliance with fair housing regulations, any deed restriction or covenant that would prohibit the conveyance of the property to members of a protected class is not legal, considered void, and unenforceable. Question 52. A fiduciary who holds or controls property for the benefit of another is called A. A trustee. B. A grantor. C. A beneficiary. D. A grantee. The correct answer is A. A trustee. A trustee is a fiduciary who holds or controls property for the benefit of another. Question 53. A contract between two parties, both giving a promise for a promise is called A. Unilateral contract. B. Bilateral contract. C. Special agreement. D. Collusion. The correct answer is B. Bilateral contract. A contract between two parties that make promises to each other to perform is called a bilateral contract. Question 54. Shane is offering an open listing on his home to all local brokers. Shane has offered to pay a 3% commission to the broker that brings him a ready, willing, and able buyer. What type of contract did Shane offer? A. Bilateral contract. B. Unenforceable contract. C. Void contract.
D. Unilateral contract. The correct answer is D. Unilateral contract. A unilateral contract is when only one party agrees to perform under certain circumstances. Question 55. To be enforceable, real estate contracts must be in writing according to the A. Real Estate Commission, B. Statute of Frauds, C. Federal Real Estate Act, D. Sherman Antitrust Act. The correct answer is B. Statute of Frauds. Statute of Frauds states to be enforceable real estate contracts and the transfer of property must be in writing. Question 56. All parties entering into a real estate contract must be doing so on their own free will and not under duress. Which of the following is not a requirement to enter into a real estate contract? A. Parties must be U.S. citizens. B. Parties must have proper authority. C. Parties must be mentally competent. D. Parties must be of legal age. The correct answer is A. Parties must be U.S. citizens. All parties to a contract must be of legal age, mentally competent, and have proper authority to enter into a valid contract. All parties to the contract do not have to be U.S. citizens. Question 57. A valid contract must contain valuable consideration, which means A. No personal property items. B. Cash only. C. Something clearly offered for something else in exchange. D. None of the above. The correct answer is C. Something clearly offered for something else in exchange. A valid contract must contain a two-party exchange of valuable consideration and performance. Question 58. In order for a contract to convey ownership in a property transaction, the contract must include A. Surface rights. B. A legal description. C. Rights of survivorship. D. The full bundle of rights. The correct answer is B. A legal description. In order for a contract to convey ownership in a property, the contract must include a legal description that describes the property so that its geographic location is identifiable. Question 59. Which of the following is not a requirement for a contract to be valid and enforceable? A. Competent parties. B. Authority. C. Notarization. D. Valuable consideration. The correct answer is C. Notarization. The required components of a valid contract include competent parties, legal purpose, voluntary good faith, mutual consent, and valuable consideration. Question 60. In a real estate transaction, when someone is forced into a contract by intimidation or some other type of coercion, it is called A. Bullying, B. Duress, C. Stress, D. Strong-arming. The correct answer is B. Duress. When someone is forced into a contract by intimidation or some other type of coercion, this is known as acting under duress. Question 61. A contract that does not have all the necessary elements of a contract is A. Valid, B. Void, C. Enforceable by insinuation, D. Legally binding. The correct answer is B. Void. A contract that does not have all the necessary elements of a contract is void and unenforceable by either party. Question 62. Leon entered into a contract that called for $1,000 in monetary damages if the contract was breached. The $1,000 in the contract is referred to as A. Retainer fee, B. Breach fine, C. Liquidated damages, D. Lis pendens. The correct answer is C. Liquidated damages. When a contract calls for a specified amount of monetary compensation, earnest money, to be paid to one party of the contract upon a breach of contract, this is referred to as liquidated damages. Question 63. After the offer and acceptance, when the terms of a contract are in the process of being completed, and prior to closing, the contract is said to be A. Executory, B. Amended, C. Rescinded, D. Lis pendens. The correct answer is A. Executory. When the terms of a contract are in the process of being completed, the contract is said to be executory. Question 64. A person makes an offer to purchase a property that was shown to them by their broker, but then waits to present the offer to the seller until later that day. In the meantime, 2 more offers were submitted on the property. Under the rule of agency, the offer, A, is considered to be void because only 1 offer at a time can be placed on a property. B, must be presented alongside the other offers to allow the seller to make a fair choice. C, must wait to be presented to the seller because the other offers take priority in order. D, must be presented first because the offer was known by the broker before the others. The correct answer is B, must be presented alongside the other offers to allow the seller to make a fair choice. Under the rule of agency, all offers must be presented to the seller.
Question 65. A seller tells their agent they had a termite treatment 6 months ago for termites, but no current infestation exists. What should the agent do? A, omit the information because it's outdated. B, advise the seller not to mention it. C, recommend disclosing the previous treatment anyway. D, tell buyers only if they ask about it. The correct answer is C, recommend disclosing the previous treatment anyway. Even if no active infestation exists, prior termite treatment can be considered a material fact to some buyers. It's best practice to disclose such information to avoid any future disputes or claims of misrepresentation. Question 66. A broker instructs their licensee to skip disclosing a mold problem because it's minor. What should the licensee do? A, follow the broker's instructions. B, disclose the mold problem to all parties. C, remain silent to avoid conflict. D, disclose the mold problem after close of escrow. The correct answer is B, disclose the mold problem to all parties. Agents are required to disclose known material defects, regardless of a broker's instructions. Failing to disclose mold, which can pose health and financial risks, is a violation of disclosure laws and may lead to legal and disciplinary action. Question 67. A buyer's agent shows a property that's listed by a different brokerage. The buyer asks the agent how much to offer. What can the agent legally do? A, contact the seller directly. B, provide a comparative market analysis and offer advice. C, withhold all opinion to avoid influencing the buyer. D, call the listing agent for instructions. The correct answer is B, provide a comparative market analysis and offer advice. The buyer's agent represents the buyer and may give professional advice, including pricing guidance, by preparing a comparative market analysis CMA. They should never contact the seller directly without permission, as that may violate agency rules. Question 68. A buyer offers to pay in full for a home with cryptocurrency. The seller agrees. What must both parties ensure before closing? A, that the buyer's crypto wallet is secure. B, that the title company accepts cryptocurrency. C, that the agent is paid in cash. D, that the loan contingency is in effect. The correct answer is B, that the title company accepts cryptocurrency. Before agreeing to close a transaction using non-traditional currency such as cryptocurrency, both parties must ensure that all service providers, especially the title or escrow company, are equipped and willing to handle such a transaction.
Question 69. A property management contract should include all of the following, except A, signatures of the property owner and licensee. B, duration of the agreement. C, signature of the tenant. D, management fee. The correct answer is C, signature of the tenant. The property management agreement is an employment contract between the property owner and the agent licensee. A tenant will sign a lease, but not the property management agreement. Question 70. Sally wants to transfer the title of her property to her granddaughter. Which of the following are ways to voluntarily transfer title to a property? A, sales contract. Will, Sazin. B, will, grant, deed. C, title certificate, escheat, deed. D, escheat, will, grant. The correct answer is B,
will, grant, deed. Title to property can be voluntarily transferred by a will, grant, or deed.
Question 71. When someone passes away with a valid will in place, it is referred to as A. Testate, B. Intestate, C. Escheat, D. Appurtenant. The correct answer is A. Testate. Testate is the term for passing away with a valid will in place. Question 72. What does the term escheat refer to in real estate? A. Transferring property through a trust. B. Transferring property through a quitclaim deed. C. Reversion of property to the government. D. Distribution of property to heirs. The correct answer is C. Reversion of property to the government. Escheat refers to the legal process where real estate property reverts to the government when no heirs or beneficiaries can be identified or located. Question 73. Liens on a title may be voluntary or involuntary. Which of the following is an example of a voluntary lien? A. Mortgage. B. Judgment. C. Child support lien. D. Tax lien. The correct answer is A. Mortgage. A mortgage places a lien on the property which is voluntary in nature and not force placed by the courts. Question 74. Donnie's neighbor Paul has an easement to cross Donnie's property to get to his own. The easement is recorded and transfers with the land if either Donnie or Paul sell their property. When an easement is on a title, it is an example of an A. Encroachment, B. Estoppel, C. Encumbrance, D. Equitable title. The correct answer is C. Encumbrance. An encumbrance is a limitation placed on a title such as a lien, lease, or easement. Such encumbrance is important to identify as it may affect the value and/or utility of the property. Question 75. Escrow agent Emily will use what legal instrument to transfer real property from the seller to the buyer on closing day? A. Title certificate. B. Deed. C. Bill of sale. D. Settlement statement. The correct answer is B. Deed. A deed is the legal instrument used at closing to transfer real property from the seller to the buyer. Question 76. What type of title bears the most protection for the property owner? A. Quitclaim deed. B. Sheriff's deed. C. Warranty deed. D. Beneficiary deed. The correct answer is C. Warranty deed. A warranty deed provides the most protection for a property owner and includes the guarantee of season, encumbrances, right to quiet enjoyment, further assurance, and warranty forever. Question 77. On closing day, who signs the deed to transfer the property from seller to buyer? A. The buyer. B. The seller. C. The buyer, seller. D. The seller and escrow agent. The correct answer is B. The seller. Only the seller or grantor is required to execute the deed to convey property to the buyer. No other parties are required to sign the deed at closing. Question 78. When agents get together and have a discussion regarding setting a fixed commission rate so that they are all charging the same rate, this conversation violates what act? A. Homestead Act. B. Fair Housing Act. C. Ada Act. D. Sherman Antitrust Act. The correct answer is D. Sherman Antitrust Act. This activity among agents constitutes price fixing. Price fixing is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Question 79. What duty requires an agent to place the client's best interest above all others? A. Honesty. B. Loyalty. C. Respect. D. Obedience. The correct answer is B. Loyalty. The agent's duty of loyalty requires the agent to put the client's best interest above all others. Question 80. Steve tells listing agent Shelley his basement leaks, but only when it rains hard for long periods of time, so no need to mention it to buyers. He insists it's really no big deal. Which of the following is true? A. Shelley must be obedient and not mention it. B. Shelley should trust her client. It's no big deal. C. Shelley cannot withhold known material facts. D. Shelley should only mention it if the buyer asks. The correct answer is C. Shelley cannot withhold known material facts. Not disclosing a material fact would be illegal, and the agent does not have to obey the seller in this situation.
Question 81. If an agent is accused of puffing, what does that mean? A. Fraud. B. Lies. C. Misrepresentation. D. Exaggeration. The correct answer is D. Exaggeration. Puffing can be an exaggeration that does not fit the description of misrepresentation. For example, this home has the most gorgeous view of any home anywhere. Exaggerated opinion, but not a misrepresentation of a material fact. Question 82. Describing the property would be acceptable in advertising. However, describing the type of buyer desired would be considered A. Descriptive advertising. B. Discriminatory. C. Target marketing. D. Effective advertising. The correct answer is B. Discriminatory. In advertising, describing the property would be acceptable. Describing the type of buyer desired would be considered discriminatory and a violation of fair housing laws. Question 83. Betsy is working with buyers under a written buyer's agency agreement. The buyers decide they want to purchase a home that Betsy has listed. If Betsy does not obtain permission in writing from all parties to represent both parties, she would create A. Single agency. B. Dual agency. C. Specific agency. D. Undisclosed. Dual agency. The correct answer is D. Undisclosed. Dual agency. All parties to a contract must agree in writing to the dual agency. Undisclosed dual agency is created by representing both parties in a transaction without disclosing the relationship to all parties. Question 84. How do the 2024 commission changes affect the negotiation of buyer's agent fees? A. Buyer's agent fees are now fixed and non-negotiable. B. Buyers must pay their agents a standard 3% commission. C. Buyer's agent fees are now negotiable and must be agreed upon in writing. D. Sellers are prohibited from contributing to buyer's agent commissions. The correct answer is C. Buyer's agent fees are now negotiable and must be agreed upon in writing. With the new rules, the traditional practice of sellers offering a set commission to buyer's agents has been altered. Buyers are now responsible for negotiating their agents' fees, which can vary based on services provided. These fees should be clearly outlined and agreed upon in a written agreement before any property tours commence. This change aims to foster a more competitive environment and ensure that buyers are aware of and agree to the costs associated with their representation.
Question 85. Davis is a subagent of listing agent Luke. Who does Davis work for? A. Buyer. B. Seller. C. Buyer and seller. D. Luke. The correct answer is B. Seller. A subagent of the listing agent works for the seller.
Question 86. Only showing homes in a certain part of town to people of a certain nationality is called A. Panic selling. B. Redlining. C. Blockbusting. D. Steering. The correct answer is D. Steering. Only showing homes in a certain part of town to people of a certain nationality is called steering and a violation of fair housing laws. Question 87. A Hispanic man called a landlord regarding a home for rent online. The landlord tells him the property is already rented. His white friend then called the landlord to inquire about the property, and he arranged an appointment to show him the home. This is discrimination based on A. Race. B. Familial status. C. Income. D. Religion. The correct answer is
A. Race. The landlord has discriminated based on race. Question 88. A broker wants to advertise a coming soon property. What must they ensure first? A. That the agent is paid in advance. B. That the seller verbally agrees. C. Advertising coming soon. Listings are allowed and agreed to in writing. D. That the MLS doesn't find out about it. The correct answer is C. Advertising coming soon. Listings are allowed and agreed to in writing. Coming soon listings must have written authorization from the seller, and in many MLS systems, they have specific rules and timelines. The broker must follow these procedures and make sure that all advertising is truthful and authorized. Question 89. A buyer agrees to purchase a home as is. During inspection, several issues are discovered. Can the buyer still cancel the contract? A. No. The buyer waived all rights by agreeing to as is. B. Only if the seller agrees. C. Yes, if there is an active inspection contingency. D. No, unless financing also falls through. The correct answer is C. Yes, if there is an active inspection contingency. Even in an as-is sale, an inspection contingency allows the buyer to inspect and potentially cancel the contract if the findings are unsatisfactory. As-is generally describes the way in which a home is to be sold, but it doesn't waive the buyer's inspection rights. Question 90. A buyer's loan is approved, but just before closing, they lose their job. What should the buyer do right away? A. Proceed with closing as planned. B. Immediately notify the lender. C. Tell the lender after close of escrow. D. Only tell the agent, not the lender. The correct answer is B. Immediately notify the lender. Buyers must disclose any major financial changes before closing. Losing a job can affect loan approval. Not informing the lender can result in mortgage fraud. The loan may need to be reevaluated or withdrawn. Question 91. A seller tells their listing agent they plan to reject all offers from investors because they ruin neighborhoods. What must the agent do? A. Follow the seller's instructions. B. Inform the seller this is potentially discriminatory and illegal. C. Quietly avoid presenting offers from investors. D. Screen buyers to ensure they plan to live in the property. The correct answer is B. Inform the seller this is potentially discriminatory and illegal. Refusing to sell to buyers based on their status as investors can, in some cases, violate fair housing laws if it's tied to assumptions about certain racial, economic, or familial groups. While investor isn't a protected class, these statements may signal intent to discriminate or steer. Agents must not participate in or condone discriminatory behavior, and they are required to educate their clients about compliance with the law. Ignoring or following the seller's instructions could result in disciplinary action, fines, or lawsuits for the agent and broker. Question 92. A buyer asks their agent if the neighborhood is safe and mostly Christian. How should the agent respond? A. Yes, it's a very safe area and mostly Christian families. B. Let's look at some demographic data together. C. I can't answer that, but I can refer you to local crime statistics and census information. D. I'm not sure, let's drive around and ask the neighbors. The correct answer is C. I can't answer that, but I can refer you to local crime statistics and census information. Agents must avoid comments that reference race, religion, or national origin, even if requested by the client. Statements about religious makeup can violate fair housing laws, which prohibit discrimination based on religion, among other protected classes. The correct approach is to refer buyers to third-party, objective sources such as police departments or government websites for crime data, school quality, or demographic information. This prevents the agent from inadvertently engaging in steering or discriminatory practices. Question 93. A buyer wants to write an offer contingent on selling their home first but hasn't listed their current home for sale yet. What advice could the agent give? A. Recommend making a non-contingent offer to stay competitive and disclose it after acceptance. B. Tell the buyer they must sign a listing agreement first before making the offer. C. Explain that a sale contingent offer is not as strong without a listed property. D. Tell the buyer they must sell their home first or it's a complete waste of time. The correct answer is C. Explain that a sale contingent offer is not as strong without a listed property. Many sellers are reluctant to accept a contingent offer, especially if the buyer's home is not yet listed. From the seller's perspective, the offer is high risk because the buyer's ability to close depends on a chain of events that hasn't even begun. A competent agent should explain this to the buyer and help them understand how contingencies affect the strength of their offer, rather than pushing them into a listing agreement or misrepresenting a non-contingent offer.
Question 94. Agent Amanda just closed on a home that sold for $525,000. Her commission rate was 5% with a 50-50 co-broker with the selling broker and a 60% split with her broker. How much did Amanda receive? A. $13,125. B. $7,875. C. $7,578. D. $15,750. The correct answer is B. $7,875. $525,000 times 5% equals $26,250. $26,250 split 50-50 equals $13,125. $13,125 times 60% equals $7,875.
Question 95. A new roof costs $7,500 and the economic life of the roof is 30 years. Using the straight-line depreciation method, what would the value of the roof be after 5 years? A. $1,250. B. $5,500. C. $6,250. D. $1,500. The correct answer is C. $6,250. $7,500 divided by 30 years equals $250. $250 times 5 years equals $1,250 total depreciation. $7,500 minus $1,250 equals $6,250 value. Question 96. David, a broker, has recently finalized a deal for the purchase of one of his listings. The buyer has given him earnest money. What must David do next with the earnest money? A. Deposit the money in his personal account. B. Place the money in a secure location for later. C. Deposit the money in an escrow account. D. Deposit the money in the company operating account. The correct answer is C. Deposit the money in an escrow account. All earnest money must be placed in an escrow account. Earnest money cannot be mixed with personal accounts, business operating accounts, or other locations. Question 97. Callie made an offer on a home and is under contract for $250,000. She obtained a loan of $225,000 and the home appraised at $255,000. What is the loan-to-value ratio? A. 98%. B. 88%. C. 92%. D. 90%. The correct answer is D. 90%. $225,000 divided by $250,000 equals 0.9, 90%. Since the appraised value is greater than the contract price, the appraisal amount is irrelevant in this scenario. The lender lends based on the contract price or the appraised value, whichever is less. Question 98. Seller Jared owes property taxes on closing day, since taxes are paid in arrears. The taxes are $1,300. What is the seller's share of taxes if closing is April 10th, using the 365-day method and the seller owns the day of closing? A. $356. B. $352. C. $359. D. $469. The correct answer is A. $356. $1,300 divided by 365 equals $3.56. 100 days times $3.56 equals $356. Seller's share of taxes, question 99. How many acres are in a lot that measures 250 times 325? A. 1.66. B. 1.52. C. 1.86. D. 1.89. The correct answer is C. 1.86. 250 times 325 equals 81,250 square feet. 81,250 divided by 43,560 square feet in an acre equals 1.86 acres. Question 100. Sharon purchased a home for $100,000 within 6% annual interest rate. Her payments are $800 per month. How much of her first payment will go to principal? A. $600. B. $300. C. $500. D. $800. The correct answer is B. $300. $100,000. Loan times 6% interest equals $6,000. $6,000 divided by 12 months equals $500. Monthly interest, $800 minus $500 equals $300 towards principal.
Don't forget to share this video with your friends and subscribe for more practice tests.